Hi, good morning. Ivan. Ladies and gentlemen, I first of all like to make a statement about something that happened 2 days ago in our first session. We had been, scheduling the program on the 16th of July, but unfortunately, because of the technological issues beyond our control, and somehow or other we managed to get it done now, thanks to the hard work by our team behind me. Today is the first day of the session in that case. We like to offer our sincere apologies on behalf of the staff for the interruption that caused and inconvenience caused to you at that time. Meantime, I like to say thank you very much for your patience and confirmation against our invitation that was sent via Google Forms, and we came to know that our recorded participation has been visible in our Google Forms, more than 1,000. So we have tried our very best to cover up as much as the participants were possible. As you perhaps know, the COVID-19 situation made us really challenging phobia at the moment. We had no avail whatsoever at the beginning when it first time prevailed to the world at large back in March 2020. And almost every sector in the economy, including education, got affected heavily. And we had no avail to study and come back properly. Therefore, we thought of better, it is timely we launch a program of this type for the benefit of everybody connected with the Tibet sector. Especially the teachers and trainers are facing a lot of trouble in using the digital platforms and their interaction with the students. Therefore, it is important and I hope benefiting a lot for almost everyone connected with the Tibet sector. Skills Week has been declared by the government of Sri Lanka in par with the Skills Day.
This meeting is being recorded.
Falling every 15th of July. So in par with that one, there are many other programs concurrently taken place in the Tibet sector, including the one we are now organizing. The Staff Development Center of the University of Vocational Technology is now proudly presenting a series of Zoom sessions with parallel to the YouTube streaming of the same thing live for the next couple of days. Today, we have managed to get one of the very important personalities in this sector who has been heavily involved in teaching and using and researching digital platforms. Before I introduce my resource personnel today, let me owe my obligation and fulfill that requirement, first of all, thanking the people behind this initiative. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Vocational Technology, Senior Professor Ranjit Premala Agasulla, Mrs. Nilmini Diabedenegi, the Director General, and the Dean of the Faculty of ICT, that is Information Technology, Mr. Elaviku Matauda, Director Media, Dr. PDD Suravira, and his team is behind me in getting this through all these days. And we are proudly presenting this case and hope one of the important ground rules in using Zoom and this type of digital platforms is to maintain discipline as much as possible where we can. So I humbly request everybody to keep your mics off and be alert on the lecture and all the presentations that we will make. As you perhaps know, the Zoom Video Communications is an American communications technology company headquarters in St. John's, California. It provides video topography online chat services through cloud-based peer-to-peer software platform and has been heavily used in teleconferencing, telecommuting, distance education, and social relations. And also the Microsoft Teams. It was also a software proprietary business communication platform developed by Microsoft as part of Microsoft 365 family of products. Teams primarily competes with a similar service like offering workspace chat, video conferences, file and storage, and application integration. To talk about this today, let me introduce the resource personnel. A committed researcher, lecturer with more than 5 years experience in supporting and conducting research of a team of scientists and postgraduate students. Having excellent communication skills and able to present results in a clear and actionable format for investigators, sponsors, regulatory bodies, or other consulting professionals. Having the ability to work under pressure in partnership with a range of organizations and can demonstrate initiative, flexibility, and have high attention to detail. Having a practical approach to problem solving and to drive see things through to completion, enjoying work on initiative or in a team. In short, is a reliable personality, hardworking, eager to learn, and have a genuine interest in researching. He is from Wayamba University of Sri Lanka. He is the head of the Department of Nanoscience Technology, Faculty of Technology, Wayamba University of Sri Lanka. He is a PhD in nanotechnology and a Bachelor of Science honors in electronics and computing. So let me now cordially invite our resource personnel, Dr. Upanith S. Liyanaarachchi, to take over the session. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you so much, Professor Chandana Jalat, for your kind introduction. Hope you can clearly hear me. We can hear you. Okay, thank you so much. So, yeah, thank you very much again for the kind introduction as well as, for the invitation. So, I think it's a very, very important topic that we all as teachers today going to talk. So, I have a several, sessions like few parts in my presentation today, right? And I'm going to talk more topics like not only Microsoft Teams and Zoom, but also I'm little bit curious and interested in discussing with you about few other evidence as well. For an example, now we all teachers here today. So it is really, really important that transforming a teacher into a digital world first before we board our students in, right? So therefore, I think I thought that it is really best before we start teaching about the Zoom and Microsoft Teams to make a little bit of discussion and give you some more relevant information, right? Or sort of information that you prepare really well to go online teaching, right? So without taking much time, let me start my presentation. Right. Hope you can clearly see this as well.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for the feedback, right? So yeah, that that's the very first thing, right? Because when it comes to technology people, right, when we shared, right, that we have to make sure whether other people can see it or not, right? So let me start from that point and let me correct one point at the moment. Actually, I'm joining this not as a person academic from the Department of Nanoscience Technology. So I'm really eager that I'm also working as the director of the ICT Center of the Wayamba University of Sri Lanka, actually a deputy professor. So therefore, I'm joining on that point of view. And also, there are a few more things, as Professor Chandana mentioned. Now, if you have any question, right, you can raise your hand and I will attend to those questions. So basically, I will conduct this session in English medium, right? So anyway, you can question me from English medium or signal ability. It's fine. It's up to you, right? Unfortunately, I'm really sorry that I couldn't handle Tamil really well. Few words I can understand, but I can't fluently handle it. So at the point, now I have seen 5 people now also raise their hands. So before we attend to them, let me jump into the presentation, right? So today I am planning to conduct this presentation in 2 parts. The first part, I'm going to talk about getting ready for online teaching. So I like to share my experiences and other things that I think might help you as teachers. So to make you ready for online teaching, right? So, and the part 2, I'm planning for going for the two tools that today's main topic about Zoom and Microsoft Teams, right? So how to use it, how to configure it, how to effectively use it. So I thought of before using the tools, you should know something before in hand, right? So that's why I divide that session into 2, and we can start with session 1, right? And okay. I hope there are questions raising from the audience. I think panelists are going to answer for the general questions. If it is directly related to the presentation, definitely I will take the answer, right? I'll take the questions and give you the answers. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the part 1 and I'm going to share my thoughts with you. At the end of the first part, I would like to give some time, right? As teachers, you may have a lot of questions, right? So I'm thinking of giving some time, spending some time answering those questions, because as an individual, I can't cover everything, right? So if you can raise your concerns, definitely that would be definitely helpful for the others as well. So this is, don't think this is just a presentation or a webinar that you can't even talk, right? So let us first hear what I have to say, then you can raise your questions. So I'm really happy to answer all the questions with my level best, right? So by saying that, let's move to the first part, getting ready for online teaching. Now I know most of you teachers, right, already using some sort of technology, and some of you have already engaged in online teaching. Right. Now, if this was a physical session, right, I'm really happy to ask a lot of questions from you. I am really eager to hear from you, your experiences and other things. So we will push that to the end of the first part, right? Sometimes some teachers might be there who are still struggle to going for online teaching and having some technical difficulties as well as some other difficulties, right? So before we talk about the technicality and other applicability of the technologies and other things, as teachers, now very first question come to my mind is, right, before I started online teaching with the corona pandemic at the very first wave, right, almost 1.5 years, I think, back, right? The very first thing that we thought is, right, am I ready for online teaching? Do we know about online teaching? So as an individual, I did a series of mistakes, right? Thinking now as same as the way that you are thinking, right? Teaching online is the same way that we did is in the class, physically, right? So that is, according to my knowledge, is not, right? Because this is a totally different world, right? So definitely you have to adapt, you have to change your mindset as a teacher first to start teaching online. So that is really, really important, right? So at the very first time that I felt was like talking to the computer. just because I can't see anybody, right? Because people are not turning on their videos, and yeah, some connection issues because of the slowness of the network, and so many problems were there. So I can't see anybody who are in my class. I'm not sure that whether they can hear me or not. I don't know whether they are hearing or not, right? So there are so many things comes to our mind, and we are doing so many things to avoid those things, right? It's because you are not comfortable, right? So as teachers, first of all, we have to be very comfortable with online teaching before we start using any tool, right? So to do that, we have to go through with some transformation. We have to change our mindset first, right? Without changing our mindset first, don't even think about, students to get changed. Okay. So now my first question is to you is, do you think teaching in real world with physical presence of the students, right? Their voices, their faces, right? They are chatting and everything, their reactions to your sayings and everything. I know everybody misses that, right? For a longer period now, for last couple of months, more than months, right? Now I know all the teachers misses that, right? So that feeling in the class when you presence, right? Your students smiling and they are talking, you miss all those things. Yes, I'm too agree, right? I miss that as well. Because as a teacher, I'm always expecting to see my students, right? Because I need continuous feedback from them, whether they are getting it educated or not. So I'm really eager to know that. So for that purpose, it is really essential to us to see the students. Now we have a problem here. Now we can't have it because of a situation in the entire world. So uh, solution came, so we go for teaching online, right? So do you think teaching online is same as teaching in the real world in the classroom? Definitely some say yes, some say no, right? So if you ask from me, what's your answer? Uh, Only I can say it depends. That because basically, as a teacher, if you think that is a two different thing, we can't achieve what we have achieved in physical class with online teaching. If that is your mindset, definitely it's two things, right? So now, if you can do that, if you can achieve what you have achieved in a physical class, the same way by teaching online, so that means you are capable of handling it in another way, right? So if a person is there who feels it like that, they might say, okay, yeah, it's no difference. So obviously there's no direct answer for this, right? So this is totally depend on the mindset of the teacher, right? So my next question is online teaching a new thing? Definitely not, right? If you are interested in technology, if you have seen these technologies beforehand, right? So teaching online is not a new thing, but unfortunately that came to us as a sudden approach. There were no other option. Only on teaching online was the exit way, right? So therefore everybody has to grab it. So that was a makeup situation. So unfortunately, in our country, right, we were not used to that much. So it came really sudden, right? Nobody knew how to transform, how to go through, right? So at least as university lecturers, even we did not knew how to go online teaching. So at the very first, we thought, you okay, teaching is same, right? So what you did was, you wrote something in your board. So yeah, I can do the same. Why can't we, right? We have softwares. I'm going to draw that, and yeah. So there's a problem, right? Now, when it comes to teaching, right? Yeah, this is true with some teachers, and this is not true with most of the teachers, right? So if you can see yourself in this presentation slide, okay, I think my advice is definitely change your way of teaching, right? Yeah. So when you teach in the real world, right? if this is the situation that you face. Okay, so definitely, if you go online with the same set mindset, this would be the result. Okay. So therefore, my first point is this. Definitely look into your way of teaching. Are your students really happy with your way of teaching? Then think about what are the strategies that you have used. So yeah, nobody wants to hear a boring lecture, right? Sometimes the subject that you have to teach might be really boring. Sometimes it is more theoretical, only theories. Just you have to use the board and the whiteboard and the markup. So yeah, that is really frustrating. Now keep in mind, if you are interested in teaching, there are more than thousands of ways to teach. Right? Same thing. You can take different approaches. To do that, my dear teachers, you need to look into the methods of teaching. You have to share your thoughts. Think, what is the last time that you have shared your ways of teaching with the others? Have you ever checked that your teaching is effective? The way of teaching. Just you are going to the board and you are taking the marker. And if you are planning to draw things and teach things with the board, sometimes you may argue, okay, that is the way of teaching with the subjects that I have to teach. So that is really true with some subjects. Seems like there's no way of using another method, right? So yeah, I do agree, but I'm also, had that set of mind, right? Uh, Years back. But when I started researching on the ways that I can use to teach with the students very interactively, right? So yes, obviously there are, right? I was amazed to see. Now I have searched the web. Most of the times I have gone through searching through the internet. What are the methods that I can use to teach? So I have seen the write-ups. I have seen the stories. I have seen the discussions made, maybe videos, maybe audio footages, right? So many things I have observed how other teachers in different countries, different religions, different culture settings, right? How they teach this maybe same subject. For an example, I teach electronics. So I'm really curious to know how other people teach electronics. So I'm, focusing into in my same university, I'm, I'm looking into the teachers who teach the same subject and I'm trying to evaluate myself. It's a self-reflection. Is the methods of my teaching is appropriate? Are my students enjoying and are they actually learning? So that is really important. I know, seems like these are really boring things to know, but people keep in mind, if you don't pay your attention to these things really seriously, definitely you will end up a situation like this, right? So you have to think holistically, right? Now that is really important. Now in this scenario, not as a teacher, right? But also you have to see things as an administrator as well. I will come to that point in a bit, right? So there are so many things that we need to talk, right? I'm not going to present everything in my slides, but I'm going to, I thought of, I have to say it here, give some idea, open your minds to think about those things. So you will become better teachers, right? So that's the idea of the presentation today. So now, if you think like this, now the first thing has been discussed. You have to rethink about your ways of teaching, right? Now keep in mind, people, few years back, I have seen, now for an example, let's take mathematics that everybody can understand. Now, if I ask from you, is there any particular way, right, to teach mathematics? Now, when I look into the mathematics from my experience and my point of view, I am seeing only way is teaching it with a board, teaching with pen and pencil. So that is the only way that I am seeing, right? So I have, passionately I have checked how others are doing. So I found most of the time, more than 95% of the time, I am seeing the same thing that I thought the best method to teach mathematics is the same thing that the other people are using. But Fortunately, I have found very creative teachers, right? There are school teachers, there are university lecturers, maybe professors. Yes. So they have very creatively placed specifically mathematics teaching in a very different point, right? Some they have used, this was very famous story from our country as well. So a teacher used a drama to teach mathematics. Some are using songs, some are using storytelling, right? So it is really, really interesting, right? People are really curious to see what the hell is this teacher doing, right? So that is what the immediate thing that come to our mind. He's supposed to teach mathematics, but instead of teaching mathematics in a board that we all seen, that we all have experienced, right, in our past, they are going for a drum. What is this, right? So that is the very first thing came into my mind. So I was really interested. So I look into this, I dig into those things, and I found the real psychology running behind it, right? So likewise, definitely as teachers, people, before you start teaching, right, you have to learn how to teach. So I know definitely the Staff Development Center is doing a marvelous job, right? Giving you the necessary tools, knowledge, skills, and all the tool set that you need to do that, right? But they can't spoon feed you on everything. So as teachers, because you are coming from different backgrounds, you are teaching different subjects in different aspects, different students, right? Coming from very different places and backgrounds and culture and everything that matters, right? So you have to find out your passion, your way of teaching to that particular set of group. Now, what I have experienced is now I am teaching electronic for technology students, for those who did technology stream in the I levels and come to the university. I have started it from the first batch, so in our technology faculty. So now it's almost 5 years. What I have seen is it is really obvious that I cannot use the same technique that I have used for a particular batch, same way into the other batch. It is not going to work. So you have to be very, you know, uh, careful, right? When you are using a certain method, don't overuse it. It is not going to suit for everybody. So you have to research. That's why I'm really interested in doing researching, because now even my technique as a teacher, I'm researching whether it is going to work. How can I improve it? I'm getting the feedback from the students and I'm trying to improve it. I'm asking, okay, do you like this method? Do you enjoying it? Are you actually learning? Do you have the knowledge that I'm thinking that you have? So like that, I'm getting the feedback. Maybe that's come under assessment, right? So you have to rethink about your assessments as well. Feedback and assessments are two very important things in teaching. So those things definitely you have to consider, right? Why I'm saying these things without saying Zoom and this Microsoft Teams, my dear teachers, that without this knowledge, you can't transform from a regular classroom to online teaching, online classroom, right? So if you do it, you think the same way, you are following the same pattern, same method, you are trying to teach everything in the board, that is not going to work. Now, if I ask, right, now everybody is really crazy about, teaching student centered, right? Now, have you actually measured, right, how much your subject is teacher centered and how much your subject is student centered? At least if it is not 75% student centered, you can't say it is student centered, right? So how do you find it is student centered? That's really important, right? So I think I'm assuming that you know about these things. Okay. So without knowing those things, right, just jumping into just learning a tool and going end up in this story. So it is not going to work. It is not effective. So what my idea here today is to educate you, right, on a way that you can think about a suitable method, right? Maybe you have to use more than one method for your subject. Maybe you have to use a very different method from each and every day that you are using, right? Each and every day you have to retake a new method. You have to invent a new method. maybe for your students. All right. So that's up to you, up to your subject, right? That's up to you, up to your enthusiasm, right? Up to how much you are interested in become a good teacher, how much you want to teach things to the students. So that will depend on that, right? So if you are just a teacher, say you are having a label as a teacher, you are just trying to say something to the students and think that is teaching, it is not. Okay, so these are the important things, people, that you have to treat very carefully, right? As a teacher, you have to make sure that your students are getting educated. So even it is in a physical presence or online, there are methods to do that. So I'm not going to teach everything on that, right? So you have to think about these things and you have to search for the available methods, available techniques, right? There are hundreds, thousands of things available, right? Thousands of ways available, right? Now that's about teaching. Now I'm going to talk about thinking as an administrator. Now I know definitely a teacher, when it comes to a classroom, right? Teacher is thinking about everything, right? Not only the subject teaching. Teachers are really, really keen on, even they are searching for their students, whether they have their breakfast or not, right? So I have seen teachers like that. Before they teach, they are checking whether all the students are, properly have their breakfast or lunch, right? Like that. So are they having any physical problem? Are they having, are they tired? So they are concerned in their physical uh, status, right? And mental status. So you need such evaluation, right? You are checking whether all the students have a proper place to sit, whether they have a tables or not. Are they having all the proper things to, conduct the teaching for your lessons, right? So you are concerned about those things. So you are not only become a teacher, you also become an administrator in the class, right? So you are checking whether multimedia is working, sounds are working, right? So are the things that I'm writing in the board, whether it is uh, can seen by the students clearly for all the corners in the class. So you are doing these things, and also you are curious about the facilities that the students getting. So in the same context, when you jump into online teaching people, you need to definitely think about those things as well, right? For an example, my personal experience, right? So in my class, I'm having actually 60 students, right? In my online class. So the very first thing I have done was I have checked whether all the 60 can access my lectures. Are they able to join with Zoom lectures, right? If I conducted everything in Zoom, right? So that is how I started. Now I have found the very first thing, some students, they have laptops, but they don't have a proper internet connection over their home. So poor signal strength, so they are having difficulty. Some, they don't have laptops and having same problem. They are having only a mobile phone. Yeah. Nowadays, if you have a smartphone, that is more than enough to, start joining with online classes, but unfortunately, they don't have signal, right? So some people, they have signal, they don't have laptops or mobile phones, right? So likewise, I know everybody in a class is not same. So you have to at least think of those people as well, right? So just doing your duty as a teacher, right, that you're supposed to do is not going to enough, right? You have to think about your students as well. Now, what we did was, I know definitely that when I conduct classes, I am seeing only 45, maximum 45 students joining online. Others, they don't. They're having some issues. So yes, what we did was we provided the recorded videos for them here. And you have to make sure, now when it comes to technical points, right, you have to consider these things as well. Now, I have seen some teachers, right, some teachers are teaching straight away, right, more than 3-4 hours, right? Now you have to rethink about that as well, because if you compare a physical class with the online setup, right, in a physical class, at least your students are watching you from a distance. So their eyes are focused from a distance. So their eyes are usually at a rest uh, status, right? So they are not getting tired that easily. So if you compare that to just considering the eyes, right? If you compare it with online setup, you have to focus within like 1 feet to 1.5 feet. So eyes are focused to really, really close proximity. So if we go longer periods doing the same, I don't have to say, definitely you will repay. You have to pay, right, with the with your child's your eyes, right, your health. And also now a screen emits different variety of rays, right? So if you are using a LED screen, it's different from a LCD screen, and it's also different from a CRT screen, right? So depending on the screen, you have to take precautions. Otherwise, you will have some disorders, right? Long-term problems, memory problems, health issues, right? So definitely you will end up, educated patient, right? So it is not that much useful, I think. Okay. So that is the major issue that we are seeing with the online education as well. So that because lecturers, teachers, they have to plan their lessons accordingly, not sticking into a, I'm not saying that you should not follow your syllabuses and the guidelines. No, I'm not saying that. You have to be very smart as a teacher. You have to think about those things as well. Students' health, their real engagement with the class. Now nobody can go straight away, right, for 3 hours on online teaching and online learning. That's difficult, right? I know definitely. Now I'm saying, I'm saying, and you are listening, right? You are, maybe you are paying attention, maybe you are not. I don't know, right? I'm assuming that you are there, but if you are feeling the same way with your classes, right, that is not good. So the thing is, if you really want to teach, you have to choose proper methods, proper way of teaching, proper timing, right? So that's why the clear message I want to give you, it is not same physically when it comes to in-class teaching and online teaching. It's two different setups. So you have to think about those things as well and manage your time. So that is really important, right? So think about that as well. Now, the next question, people as teachers will say, I am teaching a very practical subject, right? How can I teach it online? Yeah, I'm agreeing that there are some subjects. For an example, medical students, medical faculty students in our university, they are having a problem. I don't think everybody will like to take medicine from a doctor who learned medicine from online, right? Yeah, because they don't know. Even they did not touch a patient within their education. So that would be really problematic, right? So it is scary, right? So some areas are there, right? Yes, you need practical engagement. You need some skills, sort of skills. So online teaching is not a perfect method that you should aware, right? Everybody has to agree. Only a certain level can be achieved with online teaching, unlike physical class. So your planning should be there, right? So what do you think that students should know? You can transfer the knowledge. Maybe with online simulation and others, you might be able to transfer some skills to them, but not hands-on skills that you are expecting in your course. Yes, so true. So you need to come up with plans, right? That's why preparing the teacher is really important, right, for a good delivery, right? Right? Otherwise, everything is just going to stop. Okay. So what are the ways that you can engage your students to learn, right? And also you can consider what are the methods to educate their, enhance their knowledge. What are the methods and techniques that I can use to enhance their skills? So if you have to, rethink, right? Thinking about your subject, the things that you are expecting, I may say intended learning outcomes of your subject, right? That you are teaching. So you have to think about those things as well. So you have to re-evaluate your course structures. reevaluate the method, reevaluate the assessment, reevaluate your feedback is really, really important if you go to online teaching, right? So what I want to say is clearly the method that you use in your physical classroom might not work directly in online. So you have to think about those things as well. So you have to really, really plan. Now, as a practice, I'm not conducting lectures for 2 hours. My lectures are maximum for 1 hour, right? So usually I go for 30-minute lectures, right? 30 minutes I'm, explaining the things to them. So 30 minutes for them to talk with me. So we are not only talking about the subject, because you have to understand students are in enormous pressure, right, due to these situations, right? So they are facing enormous pressure by, keeping in homes. Sometimes they might having a lot of issues in their homes or all, right? We don't know. As a teacher, you need to tackle those things as well. Otherwise, I have personally experienced that if you don't tackle them, your students lose interest in learning. They see the online learning is another headache. So little by little, they will deviate from it. So you have to make sure that it is not going to happen, right? So that is really, really important as a teacher, right? So those are some of the important things that I wish to make a note, right? So I hope you captured those things, right? So yeah, I'm requesting from each and every teacher as a teacher, right? Rethink about those things. Now, these are not only the only things that you have to think, right? So you have to think about the other things as well, right? Now, for an example, now if you are joining to this meeting, right? Now, this meeting is not conducted through the Learn Network. I will come to what is Learn Network and other things. Maybe most of you know, right? But I will, glance through all those technical things. So you will get to know how the system works, higher education sector works in the country. So I'm expecting to give you that knowledge as well. So if you are not connecting through that, right, you will be charged for the data that you have to spend for this session, right? Now, when you choose a technology, so you have to be very wise, right? So if you are spending more hours, that means you have to think the students have to sacrifice their health, their money, right, and time. So you have to make sure that you are delivering something valuable enough for that. You have to assess those things, right? So if you want to become a good teacher, right, think about those things. So ultimately at the end, right, your students will respect and love you for that, right? So that's a very good point for a teacher, right? If you want to become a really good one, right, think about those things as well, because you have to see your students as human beings. I know most of the teachers are like that. They are really, really concerned about their students, right? They are not concerned in teaching as a profession. They are concerned in teaching as their passion, right? So that's why they come to teaching. So most of the teachers come to teaching profession because they love to teach, because they love to see somebody learn from their teaching and grow, right, become better person. So they want to see, they want to get it fair, right? They will value that, they pressure that, right? So that's why it is really important, right? So to become a good teacher. So to do that, now we have seen, I have personally seen, right, because I'm having a kid who just enrolled into grade 1. Now, her in her class, there's a really, really good experienced teacher who's really old. She's really close to get retired with maybe 30, 35 years of experience in teaching, right? So she's really, really good with students, but I have seen she's really struggling with the technology. Sometimes I have seen she is crying that she can't deliver the same thing to the students as she is in the class. So that hurts her, right? So she's a really,
The
really good
recording
teacher,
has
but
stopped.
she's lacking, right? So like that, that can be happen for you as well. So you have to think about those things. Okay. So think about those things, and you will end up with good plan that you can use to deliver online sessions, right? So learning about online tools and other ways of teaching, right? It's not that hard. That is really, really simple, right? According to my point of view, it is really simple. Okay. So you better start from the teaching point. Then let's jump into the technology point, right? Okay. Now I want to highlight 4 more things, right? For the teachers who are getting ready for online teaching, right? So very first one is make online learning active. Otherwise, if the students are not participating actively, definitely it would be really, really boring and no student want to stay in your class. So there are so many methods that they can ignore the online classes. Just turning off your camera and the microphone, then you don't know whether students are available or not, right? So I don't know whether you will be succeed at the end with that condition. So therefore, try to make sure, definitely make sure that your teaching is active, right? Point 2, use variety of resources and activities. Now that's the whole story that I have discussed, right? Previously, there
This
are
meeting is being recorded.
thousands of ways that you can start online teaching. Not only online teaching, actually there are thousands of methods you will find that you can use to teach your particular subject very interesting way, whether it is online or not, right? So think about those things, right? So use them wisely. So students will get a definitely good feeling with the subject. They will love it. They will really interest on learning on that field, right? So for an example, most of the teachers in the university, they don't want students to bring the mobile phones to the classes. They don't want students to, use it in the class. So usually when students come to my class, right, they will come with laptops, and if they have laptops, they will bring it. If they have mobile phones, they will bring it. They know definitely they need it, because when I ask questions, right, if they don't know, they have the freedom to search internet, and they will go for the knowledge, and they will come to the discussion with proper searching and grabbing the knowledge, right? So those are kind of small things that you can change in way of thinking, right? They know if a student gets a call, right, what happens in my class is I allow them to leave the class and take the call, because we are human beings. Now we are not teaching, right? I know you will take also, not teaching to the kindergarten students, right? Now, maybe in several years, maybe in several months, right, your students will become adults. So you have to treat them like early adults, right? Earlyhood adults. Otherwise, it's very difficult, right? I know most of the teachers, you have the experience, right? I know some things that I am saying is not practical in your scenario. Yes, so true. So don't use it, right, without considering the repercussions. So I'm just want to give you the points, so you can take whatever suitable for you. You can change the way, and you can see the difference from your own, right? So there are so many things like that you can change within a setup. So that will definitely help the students to feel they are responsible. Now they are become responsible adults, right? So they have to get ready. They have a responsibility of getting into these activities, getting into these lectures, and they have to, waste without wasting any time. They have to educate, they have to pass the exams, and they have to acquire the qualifications, right? Likewise, they have to have that feeling. They have to have that mindset. Otherwise, as a teacher, how much you try, it's not going to work. I know definitely you have the experience, right? So next one, when you go online, be regular, right? So අපි කියන්නේ කාලෙන් කාලයට ගැලපෙන්නේ නැති විදිහට don't do lectures, right? Be a regular person, right? So your online presence as a teacher should be there. Now, I know from a feedback that I got from my students, they are watching my Facebook profile rather than my lecture because they want to see what kind of a person I am. They are more interested on the activities that I do. So what I have done was I have tactfully, right? I am publishing only the education related activities these days on my Facebook. Even though if I've shared a post, right, it should be for the student, right? Now, what will happen when they see that I have engaged in several activities, maybe several developments, research and development, when the students see when I do, like when I go to the laboratory and I do weldings and other stuff like that, because I'm mostly engaged in technical stuff, right? So other people who are not engaged in very technical subjects don't get angry with me. We can't do that. So, right, I'm just giving you an example. So when the students see things like that, they are really enjoying that. They know, okay, our lecturer is not just a talker, right? So that is really important, right? So Univortex, so lecturers from the Univortex, so you have a very high responsibility because you are mostly focused on skills, right? So definitely you have to show your skills, otherwise students will don't trust you with the skills. You can't develop student skills without without having it, right? So first, as a lecturer, you have to absorb that skill, right? So that's my personal point of view. If you can't go to the practical place and if you can't perform a practical, don't teach that to the students, please, because students won't trust you. Okay, so that is really a bad example, right? So that's one thing, right? So the last point, I know definitely some people might confuse, right? Aim for andragogy, not pedagogy, right? So those are kind of technical jargons, right, that we are using in education, right? So basically pedagogy, let's say it is as, okay, childhood education, and andragogy is for the adult education. Now, if you go for online education, that researchers and education specialists, right, they all agree that even for small children, right, if you are going for online, use the techniques that describe on anatomy, not pedagogy, right? That works really well rather than the pedagogical methods, right? So maybe they are correct, maybe they are wrong, because I know for sure they did not consider the entire world, all the cultures, all the religions and everything. So they don't know our situation in our culture, right? Right. So you have to search, you have to experiment. So that's the most important word, right? You have to experiment. You're teaching, right, with your class. If you don't do that, uh, I don't know, right? It's like you're not doing your job well, right? So as a teacher, you have to do experiments on teaching as well, right? So engage, test, you may succeed, you may fail, learn from your failures, try to improve. So maybe in a month, maybe in a year, maybe in few years, right? You will be a very effective teacher, right? You will feel that. You will see from the result, right? So those are the four very important points that I want to highlight, right? Right. Next point. So yeah, these are 7 myths of online learning, right? So people think these are so true. So let's go one by one, right? The more information I provide as a teacher, the more my students will know what to do. I know definitely most teachers think like this. So they will give hundreds of presentation slides, right? Maybe hundreds of pages of information that they have cut and copied and paste it from different sources, right? Lot of videos and other stuff for students. They provide thousands of them and thinking the more I provide, the more my students will know what to do. Not gonna work. Not gonna work. Okay. Second point. The more content I provide, the more my students will learn. වැඩියෙන් දෙන තරමට note හරි වැඩියෙන් ළමයි ඉගෙන ගන්නවා. Concept not gonna work. Okay. Number 3. All discussion forums have the same learning potential. That means all your audiences, all your classes, right? Students, right? They don't have the same learning potential. Don't expect that is same. That's why I told every year I had to change my methods, because to suit to a particular set of students, the same method won't work. It is very rare that same style, same kind of students will come to your classes each and every year, majority. So it's not going to work, right? It's not going to happen. Actually, it is not going to happen. I have never seen in my life, right? So maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, better to get paid, right? So that is the worst case. So get ready for the worst case. Number 4, successful face-to-face activities will be successful online activities. Do you think that conducting everything face-to-face online will gain to get succeeded? It is also not going to work. Seems obvious, right? So now I am going to say everything face-to-face, right? Now, unfortunately, I can't see you because of the number of participants that we have today, and the available technology will not allow us to do so. So think if you are in a one-to-one discussion with your videos and microphones on at the point situation. So do you think at the end of this set of lectures, you are going to become a very competent, technically competent lecturer with online teaching? No, that needs other stuff as well. So you need practice, you need experiment in yourself, you need to revisit the things that we are saying today. So that is really important. Okay. So don't think going face to face will support you, right? So it is not going to work. Number 5, students don't want to see, hear recordings of me, right? So you think just conducting the lecture, okay, I'm not going to record it, I'm not going to provide it to them to see it again and again. So that's not needed. No, don't think like that, right? They will not be able to grab everything like you are in a class, right? Students won't see your gestures, they don't feel you, right? So they are not going to absorb it from the other means of education, right? So definitely provide their materials, right? It's their right. Okay, give it to them. So they will learn on their own, right? Number 6, if my course is pretty, then it's user friendly, right? So some people develop very pretty materials, right? So very pretty materials won't make your course very user friendly, very educatable. No, it's not going to work as that, right? Some videos, some tactics, some animations and stuff. So people are like putting everything that they know, right, to visually. It's like a icing cake, maybe a cake. By looking, you will feel it's tasty, but when you eat it, it's not feel like that, right? Sometimes. So it's same with the online material. So looking good won't always make it material that suits for education. So we'll be very careful when you are preparing your materials, right? So people think I got the most beautiful set of materials, so my students will definitely learn from this very well. Don't expect that, because if you are a good teacher, if you are learning about teaching, right, if you are practicing, if you are experimenting, you will realize this. Only if you do that, you will realize, right? Otherwise, you don't realize these things any day, right, in your life. Until you practice it, you will realize it is not that user friendly. If you go close enough with the students, if they are giving you the real feedback, right? It took me for 6 years to make my students, right, I found a method, right, to get more closer to the students, and they are now giving me the real feedback. Sometimes they directly told me, right, sir, your lectures on these topics are really boring. Your materials are, yeah, not that interesting, not that informative. That is not helping for education that much, right? So like that, I don't know, but I'm really happy if you are getting such a feedback from your students, right? If you make a mistake, if they are pointing it to you, so that means you are a good teacher, right? If you are not good teacher, your students will never do that, right? So these are very small things that you need to achieve in your life as a teacher, I think, right? So if your students are really honest with you, that is a great achievement of that teacher, right? So people who tried will know how hard it is, right? So yeah, so that will definitely help for the students, not just to learn the subject, become better students, better people in the future. So that is a responsibility, ultimate responsibility of a teacher, right? So number 7, students are all tech wizards, right? So don't think every student is a technical expert. They know everything, right? So don't. Some students are there, right? Even they don't know, right, how to use Microsoft Word to make a simple document, right? Nowadays, if you when you say Microsoft Word, then it's like a common lifestyle software. Everybody uses it, right? Unfortunately, we are not using the licensed version. I don't know, but very rarely people purchase license, right? People say we are very poor, right? And we don't have money, and so we don't purchase. We see it, right? So that's how we work. But I'm not saying it is correct or wrong anyway. But everybody at least have seen Microsoft Word in their lifetime nowadays, because even from the school time, even from the university time, right? Even if you go for a technical college, so that's the same, right? Don't think technical colleges are much different from the universities. No, it's same, right? So that's really, really important you to know that some students are there, they don't get it, they don't go to that technical level. So don't make it more harder by using high tech things, right, without knowing your students. So don't think like that, right? So those are very important 7 points, right, globally accepted, right? So be very careful, right, and tackle them very wisely when you come to online teaching, right? Right. So that will conclude the very first part of our lecture today, right? And I am really, really now, I did not cover everything, right? I did not talk about all the things, right? But I think now is the time for you to make some discussion, right? Maybe to just to ice break, right? You can say, you can share your experiences and you can ask questions if you have any, right? So if you want to know something from me regarding the very first part, teaching and making yourself ready for teaching, right? How you do experimenting and how you make a good teacher from you, right? So if you have questions like that, how you transform yourself to go online teaching like that, so it's the time. I think the panelists will allow you, right? What you have to do is raise your hand. So they will allow you to talk, right? And it's really easy if you can talk and ask your question. So we can spend, I think, 10 to 15 minutes for that, because Zoom and Microsoft Teams won't take that much time, right? And we have more than enough time, and I'm going to show you every possible thing that with the available technology. So how to use Zoom and Microsoft Teams for effective online teaching. So before we start that, I want you to ask questions and clear yourself up, right, before we jump into the second section. So you can raise your hand, then the panelist will allow you to talk with your mic, so you can ask, right? If you are really, really backing, and if you have real questions, but if you are too shy to ask it, so chat is also available, so you can send the question from chat as well, right? Yeah, we have 3 hands raised already. So panelists, uh, is it okay if I allow them to ask, if I allow them to talk from my end, or are you going to do that for me? Yeah, we go for one, right? Then, yeah, Nayani, so your hands is raised. So your microphone is now enabled. So you can unmute yourself and you can raise your question. Okay, one question is coming in chat. What are reliable plugins we can use in Zoom for make learning more interesting, right? So yeah, definitely there are some plugins in Zoom, but that depends on your license as well. So yeah, anyway, we'll come to that point at the end, right? So definitely I will take it at the end. Is there any tool for computer hardware? Yes, of course, there are a lot of tools, right? Question came, I think that means the particular lecturer want to teach computer hardware and you are interested in know what are tools available to teach computer hardware, right? I think, as I understand, I think if that's so, yeah, is there any platform to teach mechanical engineering? Yes, of course. So now, if you are interested, right? So what I can do is, right, there are actually not only tools, right? We can say it like simulators we have, right? We have animated videos, and there are a lot, right? So what you have to do is you have to select. I know that if you are going to teach mechanical engineering, right, that the lecturer will know what for what part should I use animated simulations. For what part I can use to teach a video, right? Like that. So there are different tools that you have to use, right? So I'm really sorry that at this moment I don't have any tool to show you, right, at the moment. But what I can do is I can suggest. So what you can do is you can use simulation tools on your own. For an example, if you are using, let's say, Solid Edge or something like that, a tool, like let's say you can have some simulations over there. So yeah, it is very easy that you can use those tools to teach, right? At the same time that you are sharing. And also there are now people who are teaching very technical subjects like that, especially mechanical engineering, right, and physics related subject. What I have observed is there are a lot of online simulations and online recorded animations are available in those sites. For an example, if you go to Solid Edge, right, you will find thousands of videos and animations for this particular purpose, right? So they are free. They are offering it free. Usually they are not free. They are only for the licensed users. But considering this pandemic, they have made it publicly available, right? So very rarely people are using that, right? So one site I can give is Wolfram Alpha, right? So if you visit to Wolfram Alpha site, you will find there are a lot of tools, lot of animations, lot of simulations, right? A lot of articles. So a lot of things that you can grab as teaching materials. So in that case, you can use whatever the subject is usually available, right? So you can definitely go with those as well, right? So you need to do some digging, right? So I'm really sorry that I can't give you exactly direct answer for, this, go to this site for mechanical engineering, go to this site for this subject. So it's not feasible at the moment. So we can search and give you a list maybe if you are required later, right? Uh, yeah, Mr. Fernando, can you please, Mr. or Mrs. Icon, I'm sorry, I can't recognize you from that. You are asking how will this apply to CBT system? Can you please explain me what you mean by CBT? Okay, so now I'm getting large number of questions. So let me go one by one, right? What are online platforms which are given totally free of charge? Okay, that I can give you an answer. With the demonstrations, I will come to that because I'm jumping into internet searching and stuff. So I will show you. What are the online platforms? Okay. Okay. Curriculum-based training. Okay. And okay. Now you want to know how online teaching, right, is going to use in curriculum-based training. Okay. So that is a really good question, right? So that is kind of a tricky as well. So now, if it is curriculum-based training, right? So you can deviate, right? So definitely you have to stick on to that as well. So what you can do is don't expect that if you want some resources to be used, right? Now, if it comes to, let's say, again, like subjects like mechanical engineering, right? If you want to train a student, particularly, right? Let's say in petrol engines, right? So the things that you are expecting to do in physical way, that definitely cannot be achieved online. It is not. It is so true, right? Now, it is arguable that some lecturers now came to us, right? So now we are doing some discussions on these topics on the university as well, right? So one idea came as virtual laboratories, right? Now techniques are there, people called virtual laboratories. Now they are actually softwares, right? Working online. So what you can do is even you can perform surgeries, you can perform, lathe, milling, things like that, right? Online, using online simulation tools. You have the real model, real thing is available on your screen. But now from that, only you can give, right, just the idea, right? I know this will definitely come, right? Because most of you are engaged in technical subjects, right? Very practical technical subjects, right? Which requires a lot of hours in maybe a lab, right? Maybe in practical situation, practical environment. So you may ask how we can teach them, right? Online. Yes, that is so true, right? That's why at the very beginning, right? I told you that it is not really gonna work 100%, right? So there are things that we can deliver from this type of online teaching, and there are things that we can't. right? That's why at the very beginning I told you, right? If you make an entire doctor online method, using online method, we have to be very careful, right? Yeah, because we are expecting some practical exposure, more practical exposure from a doctor. Likewise, subjects like civil engineering, mechanical engineering, let's say all engineering subjects, right? They need a numerous amount of practical work, right? So now what you can do is actually you can give an idea, give an insight using simulations, videos, and other means of virtual labs and such technologies. But don't expect that same skill will develop from it. No, it is not going to work. No, it is not. I'm agreeing, right? It's not going to work. So you might directly say, "Ayo," then it is waste of time. So why we are waste of our time in online tuition? It is like this. If you keep your students, right, without engaging in any work, right, if you study teaching and student psychology, right, it will decrease with the time, right? If you don't keep them engaged, you will realize it later that students are also facing very much of difficulties coming back to the subject. Now I know this definitely happens, right? So when you stay away from teaching, or if you stay away from learning for a certain period, right? When you come back, you need maybe several weeks, several days to weeks to come back into the track again. So that's happening, right? So that's why we need to keep them engaged in the subject, right? So until this situation is balanced out, we don't know when this is going to work, when this is going to finish, right? The COVID pandemic situation, and when we be able to come back to the uh, technical colleges and the universities and other places that we are working and with the students, we don't know that way, right? But anyway, the idea is not to discontinue, continue in a way that we can do our best to engage our students, right, in learning process, teaching learning process. So that's the basic idea, right? So that's the basic answer that I can give, right? So please don't get angry, right? But since we can't go, we can't achieve everything by online, why don't we go it, right? So yes, there are things that we can't do, that we have to uh, accept, and the lecturer skill will minimize that, right? Now, understanding, giving some understanding to a student using animations and simulation will definitely help him, to mold his head. And while he come to a laboratory or a workshop, right, or a place of practicals, they will have a better chance of understanding the things really fast, right? So that's why we are trying to deliver things in online, right? So I too agree that everything cannot be done online. So you have to try. As teachers, you should not let your students go away from learning, right? So that will make everybody in pain at a later date. So coming back, and it is not going to do it in the proper tracking up. So it's not going to happen. So continuous education is a must, right? So at the period of education, now if you are interested in education psychology and those areas, you will understand, right? It is really important that continuous practicing and training. So if you simply take a sport, right? If you want to become very good at a certain sport, definitely you have to follow the practice routines, schedules, right? The food that you have to eat, right? Maybe some dietary patterns are also there, right? So everything matters. If you did not kept it, continuously practice, you will experience what is going to happen. So it is the same for the education. That's why the universities are trying to use these technologies to educate people, right? Educate lecturers to go online and continue the education as much as possible, right? So, yeah, I hope that will cover, right? I want to know how I insert different lines with my lecture presentation. Different lines with my lecture presentation. So I'm really curious about that question. Ms. Kalyani Udapala, right? Can you please explain? If it's better if you can, turn on your microphone and you can ask. Right? Okay, competency-based training. Yep. So yeah, it's same, right? If you want to go for competency-based training, so some competencies cannot be achieved without engaging real practicals. That depends on the subject area that you are working with. So that's the same thing, right? So yeah, so you can minimize not 100% achievable. So at the moment, so agreed. So therefore, try your level best to give whatever the means, right? The materials to students, right? Make use of it to give the knowledge, right? Some skills cannot be directly given by the online methods, right? So for some subjects we can. For an example, if you go for draftsmen, right? If you go for drawing, right? That can be done. But if you go for teaching carpentry work, or let's say if you go with how to take elevations and other stuff using those instruments in civil engineering, that's not going to work. So that needs field training, right? So likewise, what you can do is you can teach them how that works, how it builds, what are the things, so that the students will get an idea how to do it when they come to the practical world. But giving competency that requires some certain practicals to be conducted, so the students will develop that skill. So yeah, right? So not 100% achievable, but you can go up to certain amount, right? Certain percentage depending on the lecturer's ability. So yeah, so this is my favorite. Yeah, that's so true, right? So Nayani, so I'm totally agree with you. So you are, yeah, so you are vouching for me, right? So you are doing some tuition classes. So yeah, students visit your Facebook page before they join to your classes. Yes, definitely, yes. Right now, I will come to a point, right? I thought of giving you this at the end of the lecture, right? Now, dear lecturers, now keep in mind your online presence is very much important, right? Now, your professional career, right? If you are thinking about like Facebook, LinkedIn, ResearchGate, such professional and social media sites, right? So your presence on those things really matters, right? So students will definitely think about the things that you are saying because of your online presence, right? Now, if you maintain a proper LinkedIn profile with your professional development, it is really professional, and you will have, a lot of professionals join with you and make some discussions. And also, if you are maintaining a ResearchGate profile, if you are interested in researching, and if you are can join with research, and if you are doing research, so yes, your presence on the scientific community will definitely grow. And also, now we have to understand in LinkedIn and ResearchGate, I'm taking examples here, right? There are thousands of sites that you can use to do this, but be careful with the popularity about among our students. So LinkedIn and the ResearchGate are not that much popular with the students because they don't want to maintain a professional profile, or they don't do research at this moment. So they are not heavily engaged on those sites, but definitely they are on Facebook, right? So whatever the tool, right? Even you can use, for an example, you can use a knife to kill a person. You can use it as a weapon, or you can use it to cut vegetables. So it's as a cooking aid. So it depends on how you use the tool, right? So it goes so same for the Facebook, right? So if you mold it correctly, if you try to mold your personal Facebook page or personal profile to make it a suitable place to visit by the students and learn something, they will definitely come to you and definitely join with you whenever you request them to join with online teaching, right? So that's true, right? Yeah, they're asking my contact details. Definitely, that's the last slide. So you definitely, I will share them with you if you have any questions. Definitely. Uh, Yeah. CBT is competency-based training. Okay, good. How to use breakout room in Teams and Zoom? I will come to that. I will do some practical things if we allowed to use it. We will see. How can we arrange Zoom meetings for the subject of mathematics? So, okay, that's a very subjective question, right? So, Zoom and Microsoft Teams are two softwares, right, that you can use online to conduct meetings like this, right? So you can see each other if you have webcams available in your devices. You can talk with each other if you have microphones with all those devices, right? Each other devices, and you can chat if you can, if you have a keyboard, and if you can type, then you can have a chat. Right? Those two tools are basically providing that, right? So yeah, I think most of the questions are now focusing on to the Zoom and Teams. So let's yeah. Okay, so we will jump into the Zoom and Teams, right? So we will come to those questions while we are conducting the rest, right? So now let me explain Zoom and Microsoft Teams. Now these are two most popular softwares these days, right? Everybody knows what is Zoom, everybody knows what is Teams. Might not be used, might not be seen, but you heard the word, right? Even, right? Again, අපේ ගමේ ඉන්න වයසක ආච්චිලත් දන්නවා දැන් Zoom කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා. අහලා තියෙනවා, දැකලා නැහැ, use කරලා නැහැ වෙන්න පුළුවන්. So that's a different story. But it is that much popular. Everybody talk about Zoom, everybody talk about Microsoft, right? So, my dear lecturers, we'll jump, right? Now, I'm going to explain this on two point of views, right? So from the Univotech point of view, that is a part who is a member of the Learn community, right? So let me give you a brief introduction to this point, because this is somewhat a little bit differences are there, right? So Learn. Now, I know most of you have heard the word Learn, right? Learn is Lanka Education and a research network, right? So the shortened form we say Learn. So Learn comprised with all the universities, including Univotech, and there are members, right? Full members are the full universities, full state universities, and some technical colleges, university colleges, and yeah, so many other government institutions, right, are members of this network as well, right? So Learn act as a service provider. We called ISP, Internet Service Provider, right? Like telecom and dialogue, right? To the universities. Okay. So even though they are our service provider, we are paying them our internet charges. So they connect each and every university, every institution under Learn using telecom and dialogue fiber networks, right? So basically, they are using their connectivity, but we are under control of the Learn, right? Now, why I have mentioned this is now Learn has taken several steps to enhance the university education. So they are conducting, right, a program to provide Zoom accounts, right, to the people. So what they can use it for free, right? It's like this. Now, the Learn has 7,500 premium licenses, right, available with them. So that is gained by the Learn as a grant, right, from a different international organization. So what they have done is they have spread it among the institutions. So the lecturers from those institutions can use that Zoom account to conduct lectures. Now there's a difference. Now you can go to the Zoom website and you can purchase a license, or you can purchase it from a local agent, right? So there's a difference between those licenses and the license provided by the Zoom. That because the Learn is providing on-premises service. That means now Learn is situated in Peradeniya, right, attached to the University of Peradeniya. So over there, they have several servers, right, established only for particularly using for the Zoom. So when we start a meeting, that meeting is hosted on those servers locally. So that means we are not directly connecting to the Zoom network or the Zoom worldwide service, right? So therefore, what the Learn has done is we get together with the University Grants Commission, the Education Ministry, government, and the Telecommunication Regulatory Commission, and all the service providers in the country. They all came to a discussion, and at the end, they all agreed that the meeting hosted on Learn, right? The data that we have to spend to connect to those meetings is free of charge. Okay, so if you are using a Zoom account which provided by the Learn, that means you and your students connect into that meeting with whatever the network, maybe dial-up, maybe Mobitel, maybe telecom fiber, SLT fiber, Hutch, Etisalat, right? Whatever the way of the service provider, they are connected to the internet, they will not be charged. So that is an agreement running for years now. So that's why most of the students from the universities, right, and those who are members of Learn, so they are getting actually huge benefit from that because the data is free to access those. And also data is free to access the learning management systems of the universities. So you can provide videos and other stuff in your learning management system. Students can download them without any charge from any service provider. Right? So those are the facilities given by the government at the moment, and also with the internet service providers and the Learn and other universities, and everybody get together, right? So as a country, we are having that benefit, right? So that's the one thing I want to mention. So those who are having those licenses, so it is same, right? So when you come to the Zoom software, it is ultimately same, but the data is not getting charged for your meetings, and yeah, other privileges are also there, right? So if you are wondering about this thing, right, I will do a demonstration, right? I will show you, right? And if we jump into the options available, right, now we talk about only Zoom and Microsoft Teams, right? Zoom is a different company. Microsoft Teams is provided by Microsoft. From the name, you can grab it. And there's another software we call Google Meet, right? So we have three options available, right, with different licenses, right? Now, that means all these services have free licenses. Free licenses means everybody can create a Zoom account, Microsoft Teams account, and a Google Meet account, right? So you can have a meeting with certain number of people for certain number of time. So that is the basic idea, right? So what do you mean by a meeting? Meeting means you can turn on your video and everybody in the meeting can see each other's video, each other's faces. You can turn on your microphone so you can talk with each other, right? So if you want to write something down, you have facilities to do that as well, right? So those are the basic things, right, available in all these three different softwares, right? Now you have to understand Zoom is a different software given by a different company. Microsoft Teams is another software like that. Google Meet is a software like that, right? So keep in mind, free licenses, free versions, we say, will give you different abilities. For an example, the Zoom free license will give you 40 minutes of meeting time, right? With maximum of 100 participants, right? At the end of the 40 minutes, your meeting will be automatically closed, right? So Microsoft Teams also having such a restriction. Google Meet is also having such a restriction. Now, what I have shown in the slide is with a premium license, Zoom can be go up to 300 participants and a meeting duration can be go up to 24 hours. So with the Microsoft Teams, you can go up to 350 participants simultaneously joining, and you can go up to 300 hours, right? Don't expect it to run a meeting for 300 hours, right? So Google Meet, you can go up to 250 participants with 300 hours, right? Like that. So these licenses, the restrictions will differ from one software to another. Okay, so I'm just trying to give you the similarities and the basic idea of these softwares, right? I hope you got it, right? Now, let's go with the demonstration, right? So let me stop sharing the presentation slides and let me start with the demonstration, right? So I'm going to start everything with Zoom, that because the Zoom is the most popular at the moment, right? Now you might ask, sir, if we have Microsoft Teams, is Learn is going to give you anything for that? No, at the moment, no. Only the Zoom got that facility, right? For the members who are joined with Learn, right? So others, if you make an account, if you purchase it from the Zoom site or agent, right? So definitely for your meeting, people has to pay for the data, right? So that's the basic difference that you have to understand. Okay, right. Let me stop sharing and jump into the demonstration. And dear participants, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to download, how to install, how to start, how to basically register for an Zoom account, right? So then how to log into that, how to schedule a meeting, how to do the settings, and how to use it for online teaching. So that's what I'm going to do with the Zoom, and I'm going to do the same with Microsoft Teams as well, right? So at that time, we will compare the different features available with different softwares, right? Some are very good for some certain set of meetings, right? Some software are good for a different set, right? Now, if you talk about those two softwares in a point of education, Microsoft Teams is originally made for teaching, online teaching. Zoom is originally developed for conducting small group meetings, like let's say company director board meeting, maybe company management meeting. Meetings such kind of, right? Meetings are the actual base of the Zoom, right? So you have to understand, because of the demand, because of the simplicity of the service, because of this corona pandemic, Zoom has become really, really popular, right? Unfortunately, Microsoft Teams was built even for the education, but because of this some complex scenarios, right, that weren't popular like so. That's what happened. Nowadays, both are having the same level. Google Meet is not for anything like that. It is for just conducting a meeting, maybe a casual meeting, not professional meetings, right? Google Meet is not recommended for professional board meetings and other stuff, but you can do the same. If you want to, see the people through the camera, and if you want to make a discussion, live discussion. So Google Meet is the simplest and easiest and fastest, right? If you need more than that, go for Zoom and Microsoft Teams. So Google Meet is not currently under our discussion today, so I'm not going to spend much time on that. I'm just comparing for your knowledge, right? So we'll start with the Zoom there, right? So let me stop sharing and jump into the demonstration, right? Give me 1 second. Okay, hope you all can see my web browser.
Yes.
Can somebody? Okay, thank you. Right. So I'm using Microsoft, Mozilla Firefox. So you may use Google Chrome or maybe Microsoft Edge or Opera, whatever the browser that you like. So I don't mind, right? So let me start, right? So let me jump into Google. So and we'll start everything from that point, right? So everybody is familiar with this interface, right? So now the very first thing is I want to show you, right? I'm not going to much explain on Learn Zoom. So let me show you really quickly, right? How the Learn Zoom is working, right? Now, Learn Lanka Education and Research Network. So when you come to this point, right? So we can see the live traffic, right? So as you can see now in the universities at this moment, if you look the bottom graph very carefully, the system load is more than 125%. So that means we have 100,000 participants and 7,500 hosts. All are engaged. So all the licenses are being utilized, right? So it is extremely heavy load that is running. So usually more than 20 million meetings per month, right, is happening with the Learn Zoom, right? So therefore, that is a great support, right? So special thanks to the Learn community and also to the UGC and GRC. So compiling these things together, right? So Learn is handling these things, right, with the minimum set of technologies and other stuff available with the human resource as well. So they are doing a marvelous job. So my thanks to them as well, right? So what you have to do is, right, when you go to the sign in, so I just demonstrate you, right? So yeah, so automatically it came in. So let me sign out, right? And if I say sign in, right, that will direct you to the Learn Identity Access Federation. So this is the place where the universities, member universities, has to recognize their members and allow to use Zoom through their licenses, right? So I'm from Wayamba University. So I'm Wayamba University of Sri Lanka, Liyanaarachchi premises. So I'm going to select it. So yeah, University of Vocational Technologies available as well, right? So members of that, you can use this way of login, right? So I'm using Wayamba University collaborative premises, and when I say continue, that will direct you to my university authentication system. So the lecturers have to have some account created with the university and associated with the Zoom account. So I'm going to use my username and password to log in. So I will be redirected to Zoom, original Zoom website, learn.zoom.us. No, actually zoom.us. Learn is our part, right? So you will see a learn here. So when you go to the Zoom website directly, you don't see this learn part, right? So this, now from this you can identify uh, that this is from the Sri Lankan University network, right? So you are logging through it to the Zoom, right? So when you come to my profile, so you can see on premises, right? So if I go to my profile, yeah, there are meetings scheduled, right? So let me show you. My account is an on-premises account, right? And I can host meetings with 300 participants, right? So yeah, so if you can see it, I can host meeting with unlimited minutes. So there's no restriction for the time, right? I can go more than 24 hours, right, with this license, right? So it's same, right? So this is same interface that you are logging into your Zoom account, right? So let me sign out from this point, right? And let me come back and close it and start with a regular Zoom account so that everybody can create. So people who do not have such uh, connectivity to a Univotech or any other university or any other registered institute under the Learn, so you can use uh, the purchase account from the Zoom or free account from the Zoom. So anyway, if I say Zoom and start searching, so the site will appear here, Zoom video conferencing. The site is zoom.us, right? So as Professor Chandana clearly mentioned at his page, right? So it is based on United States, right? Let's compare. So let me jump into the website and guide you through that, right? So basically, this is the website, right? If you come to the Zoom website, so this is same, right? So nothing much. So you can go through and wait. Before I jump into account creation, I want you to show some options available to you, right? Now, if you come to this pricing and plans and pricing here, right? If you click it and go over there, now they say choose a plan. So your plans for, I'm saying all, right? And not saying build annually, I'm just going to build for monthly, right? මාසෙට බිල එන විදිහට අපි account එකක් ගන්න. right? නිකම් බලමු. So here you can go for Zoom meeting. Now they have separate products. Don't mix these things, right? These are different software, right? Zoom meetings is the one that you have to use, right? Zoom phone is for calling, right? So using VoIP services, right? Zoom video webinar is actually the method that we are connecting today, this meeting, right? And Zoom Room is there. Zoom Room is for conferences, right? Like director board meetings and such things. And also we have a dedicated devices to conduct Zoom meetings. Now we have Zoom Room facility in the university, and also all the institutions coming under Learn, full member institutions, right? So they provided a special TV, right, with integrated cameras and other stuff that only can run this software Zoom Room. So without anything, we can host a meeting, right, for a large number of people, right? It's a premium license. So, and also it requires special devices as well. So if you are buying, don't go for Zoom Room, right? So Zoom United is a different story, right? So it's for the large enterprise editions, right? So don't go for that as well. So we're stuck with the Zoom meetings for the moment as per our discussion today, right? Let's compare one another, right? So if you register for a free account by creating an account here, clicking sign up, it's free here, right? So you will end up with a basic account, right? How to find it basic? The name is given in the top. So you can host up to 100 participants, unlimited group meetings for up to 40 minutes, right? Unlimited one-to-one meeting with no time limit. So this is fun, right? Because if the number of people who are in the meeting is more than 3, right? You have a time restriction for 40 minutes. If you are conducting a meeting with somebody, right? Maybe one-to-one chat, right? One-to-one discussion. There's only 2 people or 3 people maximum in the meeting. So you can go up to any number of minutes. There's no restriction, right? So if you have more than that, definitely that will restrict to up to 100 participants, that will restrict to 40 minutes, right? And private and group chat options are better. Now, pro license. So you can go up to 100 participants, right? And you can have, now somebody has asked about plugins. Now you can purchase a plugin called large meeting add-on, right? With that, you can go up to 1,000 participants. Okay, so you have to pay, right? So don't think just getting the plugin will, yeah, getting the plugin needs payment. Okay, so group meetings for up to 30 hours. So one meeting can go up to 30 hours directly. And social media streaming means at the same time you are conducting the meeting, you can stream the same meeting to Facebook, YouTube, right? Twitter or other streaming supporting social media platforms, right? It's directly available. So 1 GB cloud recording. Now people, now we are recording this meeting. Now who's going to record it? The host, right? Or a permitted granted participant is going to do that. So where are they going to keep the recording? So they have 2 options. Keep the recording on the machine that they are connecting, right? That means connecting computer locally. We call it locally. Otherwise, they have another method of recording the meeting in the Zoom cloud that you can access online and you can download it later, right? So for that, you will get 1 GB cloud recording speed, right? This is for only per license. That means for single license, 1 GB. If you have 2 licenses, you can get 2 GB, right? Like that. So now what is the price? $14, $14.99 per month per license. එක ලයිසන් එකකට මාසෙකට roughly $15. right? අපි බලමු $15 කියන්නේ මේ වෙලාවේ කීයද? ලංකාවේ රුපියල් වලින් ගත්තොත් රුපියල් 3000ක් වගේ ප්‍රමාණයක්. right? ඉතින් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි ගමු ඊළඟ එක business license එක 300 participants යන්න පුළුවන්. ඕන up to 1000 with the large meeting add-on. Right? You have a single sign-on. I will show you it later. Right? Recording transcript, manage domains and company branding, and you can put your names and everything. So that's only $20 per month. Right? So these are called subscription-based services. Right? So if we check COVID-19, it's only 4,000 rupees. So if you are a tuition teacher, right, who's doing tuition classes, spending 4,000 rupees, right, is nothing, I think, for you, right? So you can have very large classes, or you can spend 2,000, right, 3,000 and go for this, right? Or you can go for free, right? So, but a limitation. And also enterprise ready licenses are there. So these are, you cannot buy directly from the site. By clicking here, if you have a credit card, you can pay and purchase the license, right? But for this one, you need to contact sales and you have to go with the process, right? So that's all about the licenses. And also, if we go with billed annually, you will get more savings, right? That means you are purchasing the license for entire year, right? So looking into that, right? So different plans are there. So people who are planning to purchase, right? You have the options. Okay, right? Then signing up with the Zoom. So it is quite easy. Come to the Zoom site and on the top right corner, sign up. It's free is there, right? When you go over there, several verifications will take. So let's go with. So I'm just selecting random here, right? So this is not my birth year and birthday. Okay. So what you have to do is when you are selecting, you are purchasing, right? I'm just demonstrating here, right? Select your birthday here. So they are not going to store it. So what you can do is you can put your email address and click sign up. So that's the sign up process. No other information is required, right? It's quite easy, right? So if you have an account like that, so you can come to the Zoom site and what you can do is click sign in and you can sign into your account as well. I can't remember whether I am having a Zoom account or not. Let me check. Yes, I'm having a free one. So when you come to this one, right? If you go to your account and go this basic, you have 100 participants limitation, right? So after logging into the Zoom, right, with a free account or premium account with a license or whatever, you will come to this point. So this is the screen that you are going to get. Now, keep in mind, paper, we have 2 methods of accessing Zoom. The first one is downloading and installing Zoom software on the computer or in any mobile platform that you are using like Android or Apple. It's available. Right, so I'm not going to demonstrate how to do it. So if you are on an Android phone, go to App Store. I have to check whether it is App Store or not. Right? Yeah, it's Play Store, right, on the Android, and on Apple, right, you have to go to Play Store and you can download. It's free, right? So for the Windows, you can download it while you create a meeting, so that will be automatically get installed, right? So you don't have to separately download and install it, right? So anyway, if you are just a user, right, join into a meeting. Now I know everybody has this experience. You click the link. If you don't have Zoom installed, let's say you are joining from a computer. So yeah, the Zoom is not installed in your computer. Then just after clicking the link for the meeting, that will be automatically download and get installed. So Zoom software is a very small software, right? That you don't need much experience to download and install and go with very technical process to install it. No, nothing like that, right? You just download it, it will automatically install, right? So anyway, let me show you how to do it, how to handle your profile with the web-based portal, right? So from any web browser, you can come to this screen, right? After logging into your account, you will be directed here, right? Only difference with the premium account and a free account and whatever the license you have is when you come to this on your left side, come to your profile and go to the bottom. And under this account, right, you will see what kind of license that you have. So you need to know what are the restrictions applied with the account that you are having. Okay, right. So after you do this, right, what you can do is if you want to start a meeting, right? Now don't call these things lectures and other stuff, because in these softwares, we call them meetings, right? So you can say whatever you want, but keep in mind the word that we are using on these softwares, respectively Zoom or Microsoft Teams, we call it meetings, right? So we click meetings, right? So what you can see here is you can see upcoming meetings. So if you have any previous meetings, by clicking to the previous, you can see, right? If you have personal room, you will get a personal room license, right? So I will explain it later, right? So that means without scheduling, by come to this personal room and by clicking start here, you can start a meeting without any information provided, right? So later you can send the link for that meeting to anybody like this. This usually this personal room is used to do some pocket meetings we call, right? In a sudden, if you need to make a meeting, start this personal room, send the link for the people. So usually we are doing this only for very limited number of people who are joining the meeting, right? So don't expect to do this for a class, right? Don't use your personal room to conduct classes, right? It's not secure, so don't do it, right? Then meeting templates can be used, right? So what kind of templates are available, right? So where you can plan your meeting and the information that you are going to send and everything can be make into a template, right? So I don't have any templates, right? So we need to make a meeting first, then we can make a template out of it. That means, let's say you are playing an administrative role and a teacher's role both. Now, for organizing lectures, you can have a separate template. So how to create it? While scheduling a meeting, I will show it in a minute. So while scheduling a meeting, you can save it as a template, right? So you can use it for creating later meetings, like the time, the duration, date, and other options, the password and everything, security features and everything can be keep as a template. So you will use that template to make a meeting. So that is really fast. So think if you need to get an administrative meeting, regular recurring meetings are there. So you can keep a template. So it is easy, right? So that is for people who are scheduling meetings more often, right? So let's go to the upcoming. And when you come to the upcoming or in the top here, you can see a scheduled meeting link, right? Or a scheduled meeting link is here, right? So by clicking that, you can create a meeting. Now, few things needed to create a meeting, right? First one is the topic. So give a meaningful topic, right? So if it is a lecture, right, give the subject title or lecture on this topic, something like that, right? So meaningful one, because people will see this, right? And you can put a description, right? And it's optional, it's not a requirement. You can put it if you need. If you don't need it, don't put it, right? So next one is when you are going to schedule this. So you have to select the date from the calendar. So you can't select the older days because you can schedule a day, right? For you can schedule a meeting for the past time, right? So it should be definitely now or the future, right? Then you have to select the time and you have to select whether it is AM or PM. So be very careful on this one, right? Then the duration. So how long that you are going to conduct this meeting, right? Just pay attention, right? I'm going to select 3 here, right? So, and if I start to schedule, there's a message, right? Your Zoom basic plan has a 40-minute time limit on meetings with 3 or more participants. Upgrade now to enjoy group meetings. Conduct. Okay, Damit Ekanaki is one of our technical staff members who is controlling our Zoom licenses in the university, right? So now I'm having 2 accounts with my 2 emails, right? The institutional email one is got a on-premises license, and other one is coming with free license, right? So yeah, so I have to contact this guy, right? So if I don't want, I can cut this off, right? So anyway, you will get a message if you select your duration more than 40 minutes, right? So yeah, so definitely it will be, there's no 40 minutes, so definitely it will be restricted to 30 minutes, right? If you go with the free account, right? Then you have to very carefully select the time zone, right? Now our time zone is GMT plus 5:30. Either you can select, yeah, now the Colombo is available, so you have to select Colombo, right? So that means the participants automatically see the time, right, with the time zone, right? So people who are in Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan time zone, they will see that I have selected 12 p.m. So they see the meeting is going to start 12 p.m. on Sri Lankan time, right? If you send this to a person who is in USA, they see it according to their time zone. Automatically, that's going to change. So be very careful to select the correct time zone. Once this kind of funny mistake happens, so our faculty sends a link to students to join for a meeting. Unfortunately, the sender misses to select this to a GMT plus 5:30 Colombo. Instead of selecting that, that guy selected something like US or something. Right? So students, the message with the message, students have seen, oh, our meeting is something like in the mid of the night. So they are calling and asking, sir, why our meeting is scheduled in the mid of the night, right? So yes, like that, they will get confused definitely, right? So be very careful when you select the time zone. Then if you are having, this is a more recurrent meeting, recurrent means, say, when I put this, so every day at 12 p.m., if you want to make a 3-hour meeting, so you can put daily, repeat every 1 day, or repeat every 5 days, like that, or you can put it weekly, monthly, no fixed time, like that. If you want to have the same meeting with one link, you can have it maybe for several days. So people are using this to make usually with lectures. Now that we know, normally on normal schedules, right? Let's say a lecture is scheduled for 2 hours on Monday from 1 to 3 p.m. right, every week. So what I can do is I don't have to create or schedule a meeting every week. What I can do is while I creating, I can put this recurring meeting option on, right? And I can put weekly, Monday, this is the time, right? So like that, I can set. So same link can be used on that same date and time, right? Without any problem. Only one meeting is there, right? So you don't need to reschedule again and again. So recurring is a good option actually for lectures, right? So lecturers who are going to have lectures in a scheduled same occurring period, right? Right. Then the meeting ID. Now, when it comes to meeting ID, people, that you need to keep it generate automatically. Personal meeting ID can be used, so this is not secure. So be very careful, right? People can misuse this really easily. So keep it to generate automatically, and giving a passcode is a must. So they are giving a passcode. If you are not happy with the passcode, you can retype a passcode. But if you go to retype a password, right, there are certain uh, restrictions applies as well, right? So we have option called waiting room, require authentication to join. So these are very much important in the security, right? So waiting room and require authentication to join means you need to sign into Zoom first before you join into the meeting, right? Then we can authorize the people who can join to the meeting. So only they can join to the meeting. Even the people who are having Zoom accounts, they cannot join to that meeting. So we can restrict our meeting to certain particular set of people. If you put waiting room, I will show you that's a feature coming on Zoom, right? And also it is available on Microsoft Teams as well, right? When a person joins to a meeting, they will automatically put in a place where we call a waiting room. So a person joins to a waiting room, they cannot see anybody in the meeting, only the people who are in the waiting room, right? But they cannot talk with each other in the waiting room. Only the meeting host can talk to the people in the waiting room. So the host or the co-host has to admit them into the meeting. Otherwise, they will going to remain in the waiting room, right? So that is a good feature if you don't want any disturbances or any unauthorized persons to access your meeting. So that's a good point, right? So keep that on, right? Sometimes it is not necessary, sometimes it is necessary. So best to use secure features, right? At least use one of these two. Next point says, when the people are joining to the meeting, host video. So that means the video camera of the host is automatically going to off state. If it is turned on, it will go to off. Participants' cameras going to off. So it is best to keep it off. Otherwise, it's not nice, right? Sometimes some people say this is to on, put this to on. So what will happen is, without any warning, your camera will start. So some people are there, right? While they are in the home, they are not ready for the meeting, right? They are not properly dressed, right? So they are in a place where others don't want to see, right? Sometimes that happens. So those funny things will happen, so embarrassing things will happen if you do such things. So therefore, respecting to everybody's privacy, put it to the off state. Later, you can, after joining to the meeting, after you start the meeting, you may request them to start the video. So that's a very good practice. As a lecturer, you have to respect the privacy of your students, as well as you have to protect your privacy as well, right? So keep it fine, keep it to off, right? So audio, so use the computer audio. Usually you are using a computer audio, right? Telephone means there's a method called zip technology connecting with voice over internet protocol technologies used in those. So unfortunately, these features are not much oftenly used in our country, right? So therefore, connecting telephone is actually not used. So therefore, highly recommend to keep it to the computer audio. People who are connected to the mobile phone, their audio is finely working with this setting, computer audio, right? Then you have 5 meeting options. Allow participants to join anytime. That means the person who is starting the meeting, who is scheduling the meeting, that means we call this host. The host is not started the meeting, you cannot join, right? So if you click this on, what will happen is, whether the host is there or not, people can come to the Zoom meeting, right? So if you enable the waiting room, everybody will pack into the waiting room. So the host can later join and admit them to the meeting. Something like that can be done. Then mute participants upon entry. That is a really highly recommended setting that I am using also, put this tick, right? Definitely put this tick, because people might say things that others don't want to hear before starting the meeting. So it is really, really good to turn on this setting, right? Then breakout rooms pre-assigned, I will explain this later. Now we have a feature called breakout rooms, both in Microsoft Teams and Zoom. So I'm going to demonstrate it with the Zoom, and I will show you how to use it in the Microsoft Teams, where to find it. So the concept is same. So the concept is you can have separate rooms virtually created inside the meeting, and you can assign people, participants to those rooms. So those participants will only see the other participants who have joined to that particular room. We call it a breakout room, right? It is really good for small discussions. Now, let's say as a lecturer, let's say we divided the class into 5, right? And I want to put those groups into a different discussion that others can't hear the other group's discussion. So what I can do is I can create a breakout room, right, with 5 breakout rooms, and I can assign students to those rooms separately, right? So only the people in a particular breakout room can talk to the other participants in the same room. So they can't see or access the other room. So only the host can join to a room, come back. You can in the breakout room and rejoin them all in the same meeting. Like that, you can do it, right? So what actually we practically use this even for interviews, right? Now what we do is when we conduct an interview, we create 2 rooms inside the meeting, right? Not the waiting room. Waiting room is kind of a boring place to stay. So we allow everybody to join in to a room we call, let's say, a common room. We name the breakout room common room. And we have another room created called interview panel or interview room or something like that. So the host can pick the people from the common room and put them in the interview room. So others can't hear what is happening inside the interview room. Like that, you can give any name what you want, right, for those rooms. So it is really, really easy. So I think you are not getting the idea, those who not experience this. So I will demonstrate it, right? So please stay with me, right? So the 4th one, automatically record the meeting on local computer. So that's a good idea. If you are forgetting to do this, if you need the recording, definitely put this tick on. So approve or block entry for users from specific countries, regions, so that you can do it. So if you want to block people who are coming from India to your lectures, so you can do this, so, right? Then what you can do is you can click save, right? So I did not change the meeting name. So you will come to a screen like this. So if you have made a mistake, go to the bottom, you can click edit and you can change it, or you can delete this meeting, or you can save this as a template. If you click, this format will be saved. So you can later use it again and again. So if you click start, the meeting will start. Unfortunately, I can't demonstrate it to you on this way because I'm on a Zoom meeting. So you can't connect to 2 meetings in the same computer at same time, right? So you have to end one, right? So I'm not going to click here, right? And also the next one is important one is you can send the links to add these meeting information to your calendars. If you are using your digital calendars to schedule your work time, so you can do so. And the important thing is this invitation link. So when you click this copy invitation link, you will get this information, right? So what you need is actually these two. Your topic, the time, date, time zone, and this is the link. So you can click this link and join. Now you have, I don't have to explain this to you because you have, everybody have joined this meeting by clicking such a link, right? So if the link is not working or somehow some browsers and some security restrictions are there with some settings. So some people might not be able to click the link and join. So they can type this meeting ID and they can enter this passcode and join the meeting, right? So you can copy this invitation and you can email. So that is the very basic way of creating a meeting in a Zoom, right? So now, people, now there are more features. Now let me stop on this point and let me jump into another place and show you and make a demonstration, right? So what I'm going to do is, people who are familiar with the sandboxes in the Microsoft operating system, right? Can you all see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I have shown you a different computer, so we call it a virtual machine, right? So this computer is running on inside of my computer. So you will see a real machine here, right? So what I'm going to do is, now I'm going to log into my Zoom account, and I'm going to create a meeting, and I'm going to start the meeting and show you, right? So follow me on the process. Now, since I'm having a Learn Zoom account, please allow me to use that as well, right? So it is no different. So I have explained you the difference, right? Oops, that. Okay. Unfortunately, on my account, right, there's a meeting scheduled uh, and running. It is for tomorrow, so don't, no worries, no worries. So yeah, I'm going to schedule a meeting for today, right? So let me name it test meeting. Oops. Okay. So no registration needed. So I'm scheduling for today. Let's say I'm scheduling it for 1 p.m. Right? Duration I'm selecting for, let's say it's for 2 hours. Right? So I'm not turning on these features, but I'm enabling the waiting room. Right? So I'm going to take the support from my colleague next to me, right, to do the demonstration. So I will send him the link and he will join the meeting, and I will show you the different uh, features that can be used. Without users, I can't show it, right? So that's why I'm going to do it. So allow participants to join anytime, mute participants upon entry. So yeah, blah, 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 right? So here we have a special feature, right? Which we did not see on the free account. That is, we can put an alternative host. Now keep in mind, to put somebody as an alternative host, that means if I'm not there, right, other alternative host can take the responsibility of the host of the meeting, and he or she can continue, right? So to make somebody an alternative host, they should have the same license. Otherwise, they can't. You can't add them, right? So keep in mind. So if I want to add, let's say, one of my colleagues, so who's going to conduct the lectures maybe in a later date, so Mr. Akila Jayasankar. So if I select him, I can make him an alternative host because he's having the same license like me. That's why he's pop up in my list. Okay. So you can't add somebody just by putting an email here, right? That email should recognize by the Zoom as a account which has the same license like you. Otherwise, they don't allow it. Okay. So I'm not going to put anybody here. So I'm going to save it. And let me copy the invitation. And so I have another method of sending. So I'm going to send it through WhatsApp to him. So that would be really easy for him to join. So give me a few seconds. seems like I'm having an issue here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send him an email and ask him to join. And at the same time, I would like to invite, I can't invite you because if you leave this meeting, you can't rejoin. Right. Okay, now I have sent the email. So I'm waiting for him to receive it because it has to go to the US and come back because I'm using Gmail. So yeah. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click start this meeting. Now, people, keep in mind that I don't have Zoom software installed in this computer, right? This virtual machine. So what I'm going to do is when I click start this meeting, look what will happen. Right? This is going to download a Zoom file and this is the Zoom installer, right? So if I click open the file, what is going to happen is Zoom is going to install it automatically. So you don't need separately install the Zoom, right? So don't try to do it. It's not necessary. It's automatically happening when you join into a meeting or if you are hosting a meeting, right? Then that will automatically start. What you have to do is you have to patiently stay for a few seconds. So this depends on your computer performance as well, right? So when the first screen pop-ups, right, it asks me to join with computer, audio, or test speaker with microphone, right? So I'm going to click join with computer audio and put it over there, and I'm going to mute it. So now I have several options available here. Now, if you can see this Zoom software window. Now at the top, my colleague is Dr. Madhushankar. So he's at the waiting room, right? So let me show you. Now we have several buttons on the bottom, right? So this is the basic appearance of the Zoom. So when I click participants, right, I'm seeing a waiting room here and Madhushankar is trying to join, right? So when I click admit, only he can join me with the meeting. So if I click remove, he can't join me again, right? So I'm going to click admit and he's going to leave in the room he joined me, right? So I'm having Madhusanka with me. So if you click the participants button again, that will disappear, right? Now a few other options are available for me, polls and other stuff. So recording, breakout rooms and other stuff. Keep in mind, people, these settings you need to enable in your, now if you go to, oops, sorry, if you go to your Zoom account again, right? When you go to your Zoom account and on the left side, left top side, there's a point called settings, right? So when you go over there, there are a set of settings that you can enable or disable. If you don't enable the waiting room feature, you don't have the waiting room feature available in your meeting. So keep in mind, this has to be done before scheduling a meeting. Okay, after scheduling a meeting, after enabling these features, that features won't work, right? So waiting room, so many other things, right? One click join and so many other settings, right? So I'm not going to spend time on these settings, right? So if you don't want chat, you can turn off. So chat is not, it will be not available in your likewise, right? So since said that, so let me jump into this again. So I have created the breakout rooms here, right? Available with me, right? So you can enable or disable the features here by clicking. If I don't want to enable waiting room, I can remove it by clicking. If I want to re-enable it, I can click it again. So if I want to lock the meeting, I can lock it by clicking here. So I can hide profile picture and so many things, right? So everything can be done with these buttons here, right? So if a button that you want is not available, that means definitely you have to enable it. in your settings, right? So then keep in mind. That is only working if you are the host, right? So if you are not the host, and if you are joining to somebody other's meeting, and if you don't have the features, that means the guy who scheduled the meeting has disabled those features, right? So keep that in mind. So if you go to more, so you can, I told you, right, that streaming facility. So we can stream the meeting in Facebook, live on Workspace by Facebook or YouTube or custom live streaming service, whatever available. So you can stream them, right? So you have so many features available, right? So this is the basic idea, right? So you can unmute and mute, or you can start your video, right? I can't use because my video is now connected to your meeting, right? So you can turn on or turn off, right? So, and also I'm going to show you the last feature is the breakout room, right? So when you click the breakout room, you can create maybe one, maybe two, maybe three, whatever the number you want. Let me say four, right? So what happened to the participants? Assign them automatically, assign them manually. I'm choosing assign them manually. And when I say create, so I'm having four rooms. These are virtual rooms, right? If I want, I can rename, right? So let me say interview room, right? Things like this. So then what I can do is I can click assign here. And if I have so many participants, a list will appear here. Just I want to put the tick, right? Then what I can do is when I say open all rooms, Dr. Madhushankar now has been pushed to the interview room. So he has to accept that. Now he has been moved. If you observe the participants list carefully, he is disappeared from there. But he is available in the breakout room. Now he is alone, alone because we don't have anybody else. So he's there. So if I want, I can move him to another room, right? Now he is removed from the interview room and have been forcefully put in the room number 2, likewise. So you can put whatever the participant you want over there, right? And you can send a message to everybody, or you can close all the rooms, right? So when you close it, by default, they will given 1 minute to rejoin. The message will pop up to them. If they don't click it and rejoin, or they are carelessly missing the meeting messages, after 1 minute, they will be automatically come back to the meeting. So that's how you use a breakout room, right? So you can create whatever the number of rooms you want. You can assign people. So you can allow a certain time period, right? If you go to the options, you can select, right, how much time you are going to give. So you can click here by giving 30 minutes of room time, or you can increase it to 1 hour, like that. Automatically after 1 hour, they all come back to the meeting. Like that, you can have so many features, right? So I'm not going to go one by one, right? I'm allowing you to study on those things by yourself, because now so many resources, right? If you go to YouTube and if you say Zoom breakout room, you will end up with 1,000 videos explaining how to use it. So I'm not going to go one by one, right? I'm just glancing through everywhere, right? So giving you the idea, right? So these are the only features available. Now chat is available. With the chat, you can send the files. Now that's a new feature, came very recently, right? So I can send a file to it. So you can use it in the classroom, but don't try to use it for larger files, right? So that's not going to work then. So without that, so this is basically the Zoom, right? So now you have to decide how you are going to use this. And one more thing I want to show you is when I start sharing the screen here, right? We have options who can share and who can share when somebody is sharing. When you go to the sharing, you can open a window and you can share, or you can use whiteboard, right? So with the whiteboard, you have several options, right? You can draw, right? Or you can erase it. You can change, right? You can draw shapes, right? So, and you can explain. So you have a whiteboard here, or you can clear drawing, or you can ask somebody else to, I can ask Madhushankar to draw, right? Madhushankar, can you draw on that? So to do that, I have to allow him to draw. Yeah, is it allowed? Not. Okay. Let me check. Yeah, yeah. Enable annotation for others. Yes. Now you can. Okay. Can you do the? This is me, right? So in blue color, that's me. Right? Yeah, in red color, that is Madhusan, right? So yeah, you can see his name, right? So we can collaboratively, right, draw the things, right? And you can use maybe a simulation over there, shared, and you can ask students to draw a rectangle and explain it, right? Something like that. So it's up to you how to use it, right? So whiteboard is also there. So that's how you can use it, right? So I think that basically the Zoom, right? So these are the features. Some other features are available, right? So that's not really important, right? If you're really interested, I can explain, right? So until that, I can stop the Zoom and let me quickly jump to the Microsoft Teams. Okay. So I'm going to end this meeting for all, or I can leave the meeting, keeping the Madhushanka alone, right? Or I'm going to end the meeting. Right. Then let me minimize this, close it, and let's jump into Microsoft Teams, right? So if you go to Microsoft Teams, right? So let me start the browser again, and I will show you all the steps. Now, this requires pre-download and installation. So we go to Google, as we all do, right? Then we type download Microsoft. Yeah, you will see the Teams, right? So if you go to the first link, right, download Microsoft Teams, desktop, and mobile apps. So these are very basic, right? Everybody is fluent with it. So you can download for the desktop, you can download for the mobile, right? Whatever the software that you are using, right? So it depends on the mobile or the computer, right? So I'm using a computer, so I'm going to click download for desktop. So when I click this file will download, right? So to save the time, I have kept it downloaded, right? So it is almost 105 megabytes or more than 100 megabytes. So that requires some time, right? So you don't need Zoom pre-installed to start a Zoom meeting. Without 1 or 2 minutes, that will get installed because that's a very small software and you can start. But don't try to do it with Microsoft Teams. So you need it, right? So you need download it earlier. So it's almost 100 megabytes, right? So let me show you the steps of installing. Just double click the downloader, right? So it's installing Microsoft Teams. You don't have to do anything. Just double click the installer, that is installed. Right? No questions asked. Okay. Then when you start it, right, it automatically starts. So click get started. So first thing that you need is you need an account from the Microsoft. Right now, in this case also, you need some licensing as well. Free, mostly the Microsoft Teams are free, right? So if you have a Hotmail account or MSN account or Live account, right, with Microsoft, you can use it to log in from here or the Skype account, right? So because all those are Microsoft products. So I'm going to use my institutional one, right? So because this is the Wayamba University one, because we have Microsoft Teams licenses, so we are using that as well, right? And that is definitely should pop up for the password or authentication. Password. Don't get amazed why that big password, right? Some people are curious and ask me, so why you are using that big password? Because my account is the administrative account for the entire university. So therefore, it should be a strongly protected account. Okay, so this will be the same for everybody, right? So if you use your Microsoft account, right, you will be end up logging into that. And without having a Microsoft account, you can't create meetings. So that is the basic difference, right? So you can join for the Zoom, you don't need the account to join meetings. For Microsoft Teams, you don't need account to join meetings. But if you want to host a meeting, you need, right? So we have several training videos, right? So this is Microsoft Teams, right? So for Microsoft Teams, we have a training session. We had a training session in the university, so we have several videos. So I will be very glad to share them with Vortex. So definitely after this, I will share them. So you can share with the participants. So that will teach you how to use the features of the Microsoft Teams more advanced, right? So basically, people, this is Microsoft Teams, right? It's like the same software, like the Zoom. So we have left side everything, right? So in here, we can see a button, say join or create a team, right? Now keep in mind, so we can create teams. Teams are like classes, right? Groups. So you can have lectures for particular people. Now, when I click join or create team, right? So the very first thing it asks, right? Okay, let's create a team. It asks, do you need a class or you need a professional learning community or you are a staff group or other group? See, these features are not available in Zoom, right? I told you, right? So originally Microsoft Teams has been developed for education. So if you want to put a class, you can create a class because the options available for a class would be different from the staff. Staff is for teachers to get together as a group, right, and discuss about the students and the examinations and other stuff. So that is totally different from student classes, right? So professional learning community is something like professionals get together, right? Maybe not only the students but also the other experts from the different fields can join to that group, and they have several features available to use with that group, right? So you can go to a class and you can create it. So I'm going to explain how to create classes and other stuff here with the time restrictions that I'm having today. So you can explore, right, these features one by one, right? What are the differences, right? So then the important part I'm going to show you is how to host a meeting, right? So go to the calendar, right? So this is kind of important, right? And also I'm going to explain the other features as well, don't worry, right? So if we go to the calendar, so it will give you two features, meet now or new meeting. So I told you, right, in both Zoom and Microsoft Teams, both use the word meeting, right? Not lectures or anything. So keep that in mind, right? So if I go to new meeting, it is same like the Zoom. All the information that are asked is same. Got it? So time zone, response options, right? Require registrations, blah blah blah, right? So you need only these to be filled, right? Location you can add. So you can add a channel, right? So channel means you can add a team here, right? So something like that you can do, and you can create the link and you can share it in the same. Got it? So, and if you go to the scheduling assistant, so that is a really nice one. So we can drag the timeline here and there, right? We can create it. So it's like a tool, right? So Microsoft is really cunning on these things. So it is really nice. And so we don't have to type the time. So we can drag and select from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. See, right? So it's really convenient for some people, but for some, no need, I will say, right? So that for that guys, this for this guy, right? So anyway, if you create something, right, click save. So yeah, that will come here, right? No name and everything. So yes, organization, right? Something like that. So you can share this with the group later, right? So that's how you are going to do it, and you can share files here, right? You can add different applications to your Zoom, sorry, not Zoom, Microsoft Teams. So there are so many add-ons, right? So unlike Zoom, Zoom has only very limited number of plugins, but Microsoft Teams, you got so many applications, right? So many plugins, right? See, so many plugins are there, right? So you can add them and you can expand the functionality. For an example, you can add Wikipedia to you. Also, you can add YouTube. So that means sharing YouTube videos and YouTube links would be very much easier inside the Microsoft Teams, right? So you can explore these things, right, by your own, right? Don't worry to try out, right? So nothing will happen, right? No damage will happen, no harm will done, right? So you can try these things on your own, right? Then you can go to assignments, right? So we have very wonderful what we call feature called assignment, right? If you are a teacher, you need a class to start assignments. Yes, definitely you need a class. So yeah, you go to Teams. You can create a new team. So you need a class. Give a class a name. Let's say level 1. Okay. So just give it a minute. Yeah, add people. So yeah, you can search for students, and if everybody is included, right? So if I go to click a number here, I can see students from my university, right? So I have added them earlier, so I can see them all. So I can click them by clicking here, by selecting this guy. I can click and add that guy as a student. Or if you want to add teachers, I want to go there, say, yeah, here, Mr. Akila, I can find him. So I can add him as a teacher, right? So yeah, then close, right? So finish it. Then you will end up with the team, right? So come back, and here you will see another team is created called a level 1. So this is a class. So don't, you can't see this is a class or a professional learner group or a staff, right? It depends on the time you create. So depend on the features available when you click and go inside. See, upload class materials, set up class notebook, and you can see for assignments. You can see assignments, you can create assignments, you can create grade books, right? These features are not available in the Zoom. So that's why I told you at the very beginning, Zoom is originally created for online teaching, right? So these features will be very much helpful to you, right? If you explore and start using it wisely, right? So I just ran quickly, right, through these things. So you can create a grade book and you can keep it, you can share it with the other staff members, right? So I don't have anything included here yet. So I have to create assignments one by one. I have to upload materials. So likewise, right? So you can have the chat, right? So you can chat with the group. So you can chat with the person, right? So that is also available. So if you create a meeting, you can start a meeting like that. So you have several applications you can install and use it with the Microsoft Teams, as I mentioned earlier, right? So, and also activity notifications will be available here, right? It's like this. Now, if you want to complete an assignment by the students, let's say tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. So you can put a notification over there. So everybody will see that they need to complete it by 5 p.m. tomorrow. So everybody will attend it, right? So likewise, those features are available in the Microsoft Teams, right? So, so those are the actually basics, right? Very basics, right? Of the Teams and the Microsoft Zoom, so Microsoft Teams and the Zoom. So you can try out this by creating free accounts, right? So don't worry, don't wait for other people to come and teach you one by one all the features. So you can start digging from yourself, right? So basically, if you compare these two, right, Microsoft's Teams is far ahead than the Zoom in teaching aspects, right? It has more features embedded. So Zoom is just a meeting platform, online meeting platform, right? Now the problem is how we use these to our teaching. That's why the very first part, I spent more than 50% of the allocated time to give you an idea, right? To make you think, right, about the points that I wanted to highlight. As a teacher, you need very much planning and very much adapting to these technologies and change your way of teaching, right? The methods of assessment, right? And the engagement of the student, and think about the students' difficulties and the problems they can face. So you have to come across with suitable strategies to overcome, right? So those are the things that actually expected from a teacher. So you have to do a big role here. You need to do big things, right? I hope you got some information, right? Something. I know this is not enough, right? Actually, if you want to train in a particular software, right, that will take, let's say, large number of hours, right, and your experience. So what I'm suggesting is, now the basics I have shown you. Now keep in mind, these are softwares like, I know definitely most of the people here never learned Microsoft Word, but using the Microsoft Word, right? So it is that much easy. But some advanced features you need to learn. Same way, these are pretty much easy software to use, right? Very straightforward and very easy to understand. By the name, you can understand, okay, what is this? And by clicking, you can get a very easy way of, configuring the things and get the work done. So therefore, I suggest everybody to start working on the software, right? Install these two together in a computer, right? And start digging. So you will end up with, a good understanding of both softwares. How can you use? One is suitable for several set of occasions. Another one is suitable for another set of occasions. So therefore, you have to decide. Okay. So with that, let me stop share and share the presentation again and end the presentation, right? By saying a thank you to everybody, those who have participated, and especially thanking to the Professor Chandana Jala, the director of the Staff Development Center, who have contacted me and invited, and also to the Vice Chancellor and the staff of the Unibotech for inviting me and giving this opportunity. Right? Thank you very much, and let me conclude on this point. And if you have any questions, I think we can spend few more minutes. I think, Chandana sir, am I correct? We have 10 more minutes. So I have several popped up in the Q&A, right? A lot. And let me go one by one, right? Pros and cons of Zoom and Google Meet, a comparison, please. Okay, so let me give it like this, right? So Google Meet, if you have a Google account, right? So you can create a meet, but keep in mind, Google Meet, you can't schedule meetings, right? So on the spot, you can create and share, and everybody can join and enjoy the features of the Zoom, right? Not the breakout rooms and other features, but it's a very basic platform to conduct, let's say, pop-up meeting, right? It's not a professional way of meeting. It's like hanging out with each and everybody, right? It's like a casual talk we can have. But for a class, I'm not recommending Google Meet, right? I recommend because it does not contain features like recordings and scheduling and other file sharing and stuff, because Google is using other stuff to do that. So for a, let's say, backup tool, Google Meet is a good viable option. It's fast. It's actually faster than both the Zoom and Microsoft Teams, and it does not require any installation. It runs on a browser, so therefore it works perfectly well on the computer as well as mobile platform. So it's quite easy, right? So hope that will help. The limitations I have mentioned with the participation limitations I have mentioned. No, there's no recording facility on the Google Meet at the moment. According to my knowledge, I might be wrong. Please check it out, because I cannot be certain, right? So as a technological enthusiastic, right, a person, I can't assure anything on the technology because while I'm saying some features, while I'm explaining some features, there can be updates, right? And new version might be released, and those features are available on that as well. So those things can be happen. So therefore, I'm not expecting it is not there, but at the moment, according to my level of knowledge, it's not there, but it might be available, right? And also it might give some alternatives as well. So you have to do some digging, right? Can the VTA instructors have the learn license for Zoom? I think, yeah. So the ICT guys from the VTA will let you know, right? So I'm not pretty sure about that. So please check that with the authority and the learn site, right? What about organization authority? Yeah, that you need to check, right? So yeah. Yeah, is there any method that can be conduct a session more than 40 minutes using the Zoom account? That I have seen a YouTube video of 2 days back, and I have already shared that information with Dr. Madhusanka yesterday as well. But I did not check it for myself. That there's a YouTube video available, right? Go to the YouTube and check for the same thing, conducting a session more than 40 minutes on the Zoom. A Sri Lankan guy in Sinhala that he is explaining how to do it, right? It's a trick. I don't know if it's a bug or not. I'm not sure. I never checked it. So maybe later date I will let you know whether it is working or not, right? If it's a bug, yeah, it may be available for now, but with the later update, that definitely that will tackle by the Zoom, right? So therefore, try to, yeah, actually, I'm, as a technological guy, I'm saying, right, if you need, don't try to, try with free accounts like features because they are also doing a business thing. So if you need the features, if you know the things, right, best to buy it, right? So make a method, right? So contact the authorities, let them know, right, these are available options, right? Then you can purchase several licenses and use it, right? Uh, SSO, right? Someone's asking about SSO. SSO means single sign-on. So single sign-on means that I have logged into Learn, right? I have showed you that I used a different path to log in into Zoom through the Learn. So that is the method we call the single sign-on, right? So in a single place, we are getting authenticated for several services, right? Zoom is one service that we are getting authenticated. Okay. Uh, so other services conduct given from the university, we are also using the same method of authentication. So that's why it's called SSO, right? Single sign-on. So for that, you need an authentication server installed in your institution. So that should be authorized by the Learn if you want to access Learn services. If not, the other service provider should accept your authentication server, right? So it's a kind of a big process, but if you need to know more information, please don't hesitate to contact me. I can guide you up to a certain level. So then afterwards, it's up to you, right? Okay, the poll function is usually not available in the free account, so that's really unfortunate. So if it is a paid account, you need to enable it in the settings. Then only poll option will be available, right? Then at the time of meeting creation, after you save the meeting, you have the option to create polls for that particular meeting, right? So so with a free account, it is not at the moment it is not possible. I'm not so sure because we are not used to use free accounts because we are using from the beginning we are using license account. Uh, is there annotation in MS Teams? As I can remember, yes, yes, it is there. There. So they are asking more about polls. Can we get the recorded video of the meeting? Please contact the Invotech technical people, right, who are recording the meeting. So they will support you or Chandana sir. So they'll let you know how to get it. Okay, breakout room sign option is not available. And Buddhik, okay, Buddhika, right? So yeah, Buddhika, definitely you need to check the license that you have, right? So some features, even for the breakout room per sign option might not be available depending on the license that you have. Okay, so that need to be checked separately, right? I can't say directly why it is not there, because with different licenses, different options, different things might appear, right? Microsoft Teams is free. Yeah. Okay, don't worry about SSO, right? If you don't have institutional wide login service, don't worry about the SSO, right? So that is not going to work unless you have a separate authentication server in your organization, right? Which is connected to service providers. So if you don't have it, don't worry about it, right? As according to my knowledge, it's only universities has a facility, right? Okay. So I think all the questions are like the same thing, same questions that I have already answered. So let me wind up from that point. Okay. So back to you, Chandan.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Upanith S. Liyanaarachchi, today's resource personnel. And your lecture has been found to be very informative and resourceful. And upon our invitation, you have managed your time and everything to be available with us in this important forum. I think the forum became a very resourceful one to an audience, almost more than 300 today in the Zoom session. And of course, there were a couple of concerns, and you covered almost everything connected with the fundamentals of online navigation of these online challenges, especially the use of digital platforms such as Microsoft Teams and the Zoom, Learn Zoom. With that, I want to make a small announcement as scheduled. We have the next lecture tomorrow morning at the same time at 9 o'clock. Another resource personnel from the same university, which is Wayamba University of Sri Lanka, from the ICT Center, is a lecturer. He's Mr. Akila Jayasinghe. Mr. Akila is going to talk about the Excel applications and various other versatile, aspects where we can exploit for the benefit of the students as well as teachers in the whole delivery of the education programs. So, and another announcement is that this series of lectures are going to be recorded and they will be uploaded to YouTube, and live stream is also possible where you can watch. If you are not in a position to come to Zoom, then you can type University of Vocational Technology and just go there. The YouTube is streaming, and it is also recorded and existing for your reference at any point of time. So thank you very much once again, the audience. Thank you for your patience, and we had a good set of questions also for the clarification. And Dr. Upanith Liyanaarachchi, thank you so much for your contribution to make this event a success. Thank you very much once again. I won.
Bye-bye.